and then we have some football, right?
Well, welcome back. Paws Up Podcast, episode 21. We gave you a little special last week. We did 2 episodes in one day. A little wild, but it turned out to be some of the best content we put out. We had Ryan Guida on. We had Raja Bell on, and we're back. The 3 of us here, Jake and Johnny. What's up, guys? Big week coming up for FIU athletics, especially for baseball. But we do have some football news to sprinkle in here and there. So this is going to be mainly a baseball-oriented episode. But obviously, we got to talk about the other sports. So, Jake, what's up? Episode 21.
Yeah,
a new 10 episodes to get through.
You know, you said it best. Last week was absolutely crazy. We basically had 2 parts for episode 20. The first part was basketball with Raja Bell, who was an awesome guest, and we can't thank Raja enough. He was super chill. Talked a lot about his time at FIU, and then the profession, and then the NBA, and then we all of a sudden Johnny gets a great idea. Let's go speak to Rhino. And then we get Rhino on the show, and he was also a blast. You know, he was also super chill and had some great insight on baseball, which is again what we're going to talk a bit about today. So that was super sick what happened last week.
Yeah,
Johnny, by the way, welcome Jonathan Mayer.
Yes, I mean honestly, I don't need the
at this point. He's the co-host. Yeah, Jake.
I can be the co-host.
Right.
I come
he's
here
the co-host. Johnny's the co-host to the co-host.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay.
That was
the
fun last
co-host.
week. We were on here for like 3 hours.
Okay, I get it. So like Kevin and I are what is it? Jim Nance and Tony Romo, and you're like Tracy Wolfson on the sidelines. Okay.
I'm like the guy that fills in for the broadcaster. Like like when the Christmas games they have like the special.
Oh, so you're like the Marlins crew when they bring back Tommy for
yeah.
home
You know what? That's it.
Hey man, Tommy calls a lot of games now.
Yeah.
Come on.
No. Shout out to Tommy the GOAT.
Yeah. He actually I shall not say.
We're not talking about the Marlins though.
Oh my god,
we're not.
Already we're a minute in and we're talking about Marlins.
A minute in, Jake is getting kicked out of this podcast. I'm joking. All right, so Johnny, FIU baseball, man. I mean.
Yeah,
we could talk about the UM game. We have to because we haven't been on, but they basically lose by the most weird way possible. The mercy rule, the run. No one knew about this. Run rule. We want to clear this up. Not a single person in the press box knew that there was a run rule, basically a mercy rule in this game. And there's probably going to be one tomorrow when we preview this. But they did end up losing 10-0. FIU, Joel Pinheiro basically was holding it down throughout most of the game. I spoke to coach after the game. I asked him how much longer he would have let him go. He said, he probably could have gone, but matchups and we don't want to risk it with Tommy John. We want to bring him back little by little. That's why he ended up, taking out Pinheiro, who was doing very well. And then after that, the bullpen basically, they blew it up. But Johnny, let's talk about the Canes game. We all 3 of us were there. All 3 of us probably had our jaws dropped to the floor when we saw UM greeting, basically coming out for the handshakes.
Yeah, it was.
Go ahead, Johnny.
Oh yeah, I was gonna say that the game itself doesn't highlight really the way FIU played. I mean it was a 0-0 ball game to the bottom half of the 6th. I mean FIU pitching was really good. The offense they couldn't hit back on last Wednesday, and then you saw what the Hurricanes did. They put 4 runs in that 6th inning, and then 6 in the or I think it was 5 and then 5 each. But yeah, and then Hurricanes ran away with that one, and Hurricanes team that's been really good. I think they swept Pittsburgh this past weekend. But for FIU to bounce back against Charlotte at home this past weekend was really good to see. And now you have really the most important weekend coming up against Rice. We'll talk later on. But before that, tomorrow against the Hurricanes, the 4th installment of the year. And no better. It doesn't matter on conference record, but man, oh man, if we get a win tomorrow, make a little upset, ruin a little bit of their RPI, for the Hurricanes.
It's now been 9 straight games
Yeah.
that this Canes team has beaten FIU in baseball, and all I really have to say about Wednesday's game against Miami was that, as Johnny alluded to, the first 5 innings of that game felt pretty much it had the same flow as the previous game at Coral Gables, where both teams were super competitive, but it felt like no team really had the advantage. FIU's pitching was solid. Their offense was being held back by Miami's pitching, which was also really, really solid. It was a pitcher's duel, just like how the last game turned out, until the 5th inning when the Canes bats exploded and the rotation for FIU just killed themselves again. It was not pretty to see, and when they scored 3 runs, when it was 3-0, I still felt like, okay, FIU is still in this. The bats just need to wake up, and they can find a way to get back into this game. When it reached 5-0, I felt like, okay, can FIU make this game competitive moving forward? But when the 7th inning dropped and the Canes shelled FIU, as you mentioned, none of us expected the game to be called off just like that. Granted, I think in retrospect, I am happy that it was called off early, because I can only imagine how badly the Canes would have continued in that inning to just pour it on FIU. So with all that said, it was a very disappointing. It was disappointing because we have seen FIU look amazing against this team in the past. The first 2 games against the Canes probably should have been won by FIU, but to see them drop from heaven like this against this team in the same stadium in a Mark-Light Field was unexpected, especially for the offense to be shut out like that.
This game felt like what we probably expected from the prior games. We expected to come in and basically wreck FIU every single game. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
Like, there's no other way to put it. And this time around, it felt exactly as it should have felt the last 3 times. FIU in game 1 in the 9th inning, they blew it. FIU in game 2, it literally came down to the final strike. And now in game 3, it felt like it probably should have felt these last couple days. But, the pitching was good. Piniero's been looking better and better. Johnny could attest to that. It's probably someone who I would love to talk to tomorrow. Yeah. But, you just got to, and we spoke to Ryan, and he said, obviously, winning these games are big for them and the confidence that it puts them into, that conference week. But when you look at it, these games don't really mean anything. What really matters to them is conference week. And we saw that against Charlotte this past week.
Though keep in mind for the Canes, right? The goals for FIU and Miami are very different. FIU wants to make it to the conference tournament, right? And that's great. What does Miami want to do? They want to get to Omaha, right? And every win for Miami matters. If FIU knocked off the upset against Miami, who knows how many ranks the Canes, who I think were 11th at the time when they played FIU, how many ranks they would have fallen against an unranked team out of the blue like FIU, right? So the Canes played like they did not want to have their season spoiled, which means that they played 110%. They gave 110%, and the 10-0 result absolutely made that clear.
Yeah, and that's the part where, right now it's a midweek game. You want to you're not going to put your best guys out there for FIU. They want to get them ready for Rice, but at the same time, for FIU's opportunity, it's a good confidence boost. If they win, they feel really good about playing a Rice team that's been struggling as of late. But for the Miami side, if FIU knocks them off, their RPI goes down. Second of all, they want to host a regional. They hosted last year in Coral Gables. That's what they're used to hosting. And now with 11th, they want to host a regional. So if FIU beats them, their RPI goes really down, and they really got to win every game, essentially, if they want to make a run at a regional, because they can't afford to lose these games. And obviously the first 3 have gone the Hurricanes' way. But for an FIU team they played so well against a very good Charlotte team. It was tough to lose yesterday on Sunday for Mother's Day, which FIU had a 4-3 lead. But the Panthers played really well, and Coach Wood alluded to it. He thinks there's something in the air right now, especially how they came back to win on Saturday, down 3-0 to win in a walk-off fashion. This team is doing something really nice. They have pieces. Guys are emerging, but tomorrow will be a fun game to see how FIU plays. If they're able to, play like how they did in Game 2, and if they get the result that's a W, you got to be really happy for how FIU heads to Houston and really can make some noise. And I said it, if this team could play in a one-off. Like if they play one game at a time, this team can be really, really scary in the tournament if they make it.
With how consistent FIU's bats are, any one-time game could definitely go their way. If the bats are clicking, which for pretty much every game aside from what we just saw in Miami, the bats have been clicking. By the way, just to clarify, the Canes did not sweep Pitt this past weekend. The Panthers took Game 2 of the series, but yeah, it's looking good for the Canes still, with a 34-17 record.
Yeah, and then something I want to point out with the Canes and this series is, and something that Johnny alluded to, saying that there's something in the air. That kind of feels like the motto right now for this team. I mean, we've heard I think Brian Loriga said it, Alex Sanchez has said it, Coach Witten has said it. I mean, if we probably spoke to them tomorrow at some point in any interview we talk to them, they're gonna say something is in the air, and it really does feel like that. And we should really highlight someone who's been kind of killing it for FIU lately, Brian Loriga. We need to talk about what he's been doing after he doesn't play too much in the season. He doesn't do much. He's usually a bench bat, but when he's been playing, he's been pretty damn good. And he had that he had the homer to take him on,
tying home run,
and it wasn't even a bat flip; it was a bat throw, and Johnny was there, and that was a great call by Johnny there. And then Dante Girardi to walk it off. I think that was Game 1.
Oh, Game 2. Yep.
Game 2. Okay.
Yeah. But I would say with Brian Loriga, that was obviously how it happened because, first baseman H. Figueroa got hurt on a hand in game number 1. He was trying to walk it off, but he left the game. Loriga came in. And look, Figgy was the guy all year long. He played in all 49 games. Loriga comes in, and if I'm correct, it was a 1-2 count. He came into that ball game, had a single, next at bat, hits a home run. He had a great double play in Game 1, and then Game 2 had that huge home run. So, and even had a 2-run double on yesterday as well. So he's had an unbelievable weekend this year. And now it comes in where you have a guy in Loriga that the bat's getting hot. You can maybe bring back Figgy. You have obviously Guida, who had some great RBIs yesterday or this past weekend. So things are clicking at the right time. It's a matter of how FIU adjusts against Houston. And look, last year FIU got swept by Rice at home to wrap up the season. But this is a different team. You go to Houston, a Rice team I said before that's been slipping as of late. But FIU wants to continue to play the high baseball that they have and try to make some noise, which that would be just for how conference play has been for them. If they make it in, you would be really happy and excited for how the first year under head coach Rich Witten has really gone.
And it does feel like the pitching is clicking for FIU right now, Johnny. I mean, the bullpen looks good. They looked good in that Charlotte series. And just for reference, Johnny, just tell us what FIU exactly has to do to qualify for conference play. If they do qualify, who would they play and how the tournament kind of works?
Yeah, so it's the top 8 teams. There are 10 teams in the conference. And right now, there's a 3-way tie with Rice, UAB, and FIU. Every team is 7-20. However, the kicker is UAB has the tiebreaker ahead of FIU because they took 2-3 in Miami back in March. So really, and I think UAB plays FIU. That's one thing. So really, if UAB loses 2, FIU wins 2, that's the goal. They're in. So you got to think you got to take 2 out of 3 and just hope that UAB, loses 2 in the series. That's the goal if FIU wants to make to the tournament. It's possible because Rice is there. They have 18 wins this year. Also, the standpoint of FIU and the rebuilding side of things, but basically that's the key. Just you got to win 2, and hopefully UAB can drop 2 against a very good FIU team.
So if UAB takes 2 out of 3, FIU takes 2 out of 3. FIU doesn't get it.
Or it's the sweep. If FIU sweeps and UAB loses at least one game, they're in. So you got to hope for a sweep that guarantees it really, or you win 2 and UAB loses 1.
And it's still really possible, by the way. FIU could definitely sweep a team like Rice.
Oh, I think so for sure. I know Rice has had some really good games. I think they beat Texas Tech earlier in the year in non-conference play, but they have just the pitching for Rice has not looked great. The offense is very hit or miss for the Owls ball club. So if FIU is able to take advantage of the pitching side, and their pitching has looked good with how Coach Wooden used the pitchers this weekend, I think FIU is a major shot at this.
Mm-hmm. Now let's not be the optimistic guy for a second and assume that FIU does not get in. Okay. Now something we already know is that statistically and as far as win-loss goes, this is already a much better season than last year. They've won 4 more games than last year. Would you be willing to say that with a 20-31 record at the moment, regardless of what happens especially what happens tomorrow and what happens against Rice, is this season a success for our brand new coach, Rich Whitten?
Well, I mean, there's different ways you could put it, Jake. You have the way where, you got more wins, you're a better team technically. And then there's the point of we realize that we suck in high leverage situations. Our bullpen can't hold leads, and the pitching needs to improve. I have zero issue with the offense, although now you have a lot of guys leaving. We saw each and every guy who we expect to leave. There's Alex Sanchez, who's probably going to leave, who's leaving. Mike Rosario's leaving. Those are probably your 2 corner. That's the heart of the offense right there.
Well, it's more about eligibility. So,
and then we have Ruben Carpio leaving. Henry Waller is leaving. Johnny, I'm missing a couple relievers there.
Yeah, I know Mario Fernandez, Kevin Martin. They're graduating. It depends. Also, you never know if they're graduating. They can always they have eligibility. These guys as well. So we don't know if they're going to come back, or not. But I know those guys are graduating. Congrats to them. Obviously, that's a huge achievement in their part to graduate. But you never know. It's the whole world of the COVID year. Guys can come back for another year or so. But
there's the draft. I mean,
draft too. Yeah, you never know. Guys can get drafted, and a lot of guys have had some stock this year to prove a case of trying to get drafted to an MLB team.
Yep. So in that case, you could say it really wasn't successful just in terms of the pitching, but man, they have a lot of work to do. And when I say a lot, it is a lot. And Johnny and I were talking about the transfer portal the other day for baseball, and they lost a pretty stud guy in the portal. If he throws 99, I'm correct, Johnny?
Mario Zabala. Yeah, he played on the team this year, but I think if I'm correct, I saw him. He's in the portal, which recently.
That's a pretty big loss. That would have been a nice piece to have. And last time I checked, he's still on the roster, but according to Twitter and I guess his agent, I guess is what we could call it, he's on the portal. So if I could still probably keep him, but highly unlikely when this guy is just dotting 99.
But I would say with your question, Jake, about the success, I think it's a big building year. Obviously it's a time of change. And in baseball, you got to really adjust to having a new roster, having new pitchers, maybe that you didn't recruit. But Coach Wooden did an excellent job. You look at how they had the non-conference slated. They had a 7-8 game winning streak they had early in the year. And obviously conference play did not go their way. But you could say you could have taken a couple of games, whether it's against Middle Tennessee. I think they should have took a game or 2. The Miami game, well, that's non-conference, but they should have won game 2 of that series. In some other games as well, whether it's UAB, like FIU, like they can play 1 through 9. It's just some things don't go their way and high leverage. You said, Kevin, but that's why it's year 1 and it's not year 2 or 3. You're gonna see what you had and you build on it next year. Whether that's finding guys in the transfer portal, which Coach Wooden did an unbelievable job this year, bringing in a guy like Mike Rosario and Ryan Guida.
Paladar's also graduating.
Craig Palladar too.
He was pretty damn good.
Yeah, I think he does have a year eligibility left though.
But he's graduating. At the moment, we have to think about these guys are donezo. Although I would think a lot of these guys do come back. Like I don't know why I feel like Ruben Carpio is going to come back as well as Palladar. There's a couple guys.
That's just being hopeful, Kevin.
I mean, it happens. There's guys with Sanchez and Dante went into the transfer portal and they came back. So, just saying. But I know that was a different situation, but
that's true. But I would say I think this is a very good building block year of success. You found a lot of guys that last year they were bottom of the league in offense. This year they're top 4 in the league of offense. So that's right there. Obviously, pitching side of things are going to find ways. I know Coach Wooden has gone in the portal, but this is a very good year from a stepping stone, and I'm already excited to see what will go on. The season's not even over yet, but I'm excited to see even how year 2 will go based on the progression that this team went on year 1.
And
Well,
this is my first year kind of going into the offseason with baseball, Johnny. So just explain how to transfer when the portal begins, when we start seeing this news ramp up of guys leaving, guys joining. Because, I mean, there's still guys that right now are on this team that we're pretty excited to watch. I believe Loriga's still going to be here next season.
Oh, yeah.
They have Steven Ondina coming back, hopefully. You have Ryan Guida, who's probably going to be their best offensive player if we're looking at projections for next season.
Mhm.
The pitching still looks good. I believe Kabarkis is still there, going to be there. I mean,
Biggie.
and Jackson Ritchie, you got to feel pretty good where you're at with the current guys on the roster and the additions that they could possibly make. I mean, lately, FIU recruiting has been some of the best we've seen.
Mhm.
They had the #1 recruiting class for football. They literally got Kewan Jenkins, and then they got a couple studs for basketball. So
yeah, because
you know,
they're using the I in FIU towards their recruiting, and it's paying dividends for this team.
yeah.
And I was going to say, Rich Whitten, he found guys like a Henry Wallen, a Mike Rosario, who had time in the ACC and the Hurricanes, and they come here and they get full playing time. You see how they produce at a high level.
A couple of them.
I can definitely see, that the portal, there's so many guys. You can find guys that play at an SEC school but don't get playing time. They come here and they thrive. That's something I can see that Coach Whitten does once again, and it worked this year. I wouldn't be surprised if they find another guy offensively to add to this offense that has already is looking really, really strong. With a lot of upperclassmen.
So if Rich had to choose this offseason to focus more on maintaining the strength of their offense or completely rebranding and upgrading their pitching rotation, what should take priority for Rich and the Panthers this offseason?
I think the pitching. I think Johnny and I would both say the pitching,
yeah.
especially the bullpen. I mean, I like the starting core they had this year. Tiburcio, he's also gone too, Johnny, right? He's definitely gone.
Tiburcio.
Or does he still have that year of eligibility? I'm pretty sure he's a graduate.
I think he does have 1 year left. I think.
If he has 1 year left, that is huge because he was.
Yeah.
I know we talk about the standees of the rotation. I mean, Sandy hasn't looked too good this year, but he would be that Sandy of the rotation. You also have Kabarkis, you have Richie. I mean, those are 3 good starters that they've been able to handle. Although Richie's had his blow up starts. You were gonna say something?
I was gonna say though, I think FIU has a lot of long relief guys that can go, 3 or 4 innings of work and get the job done. But they don't have a ton of guys that can go 5 or 6 and give you, a starting nod. That's something I think FIU will try to see next year is finding guys that, that can be starter innings because, I think we saw Coach Whitten adjusted finding guys that go 4, then goes 2, and then goes 3 to wrap it up. But if you have guys that can go 5 or 6 innings as a starter, that's really, really big for a rotation, especially when you have a Friday night guy, Saturday, Sunday guy. Yeah. So that's one thing to look on. Is finding guys
nowadays,
that had innings.
Nowadays, we see in college baseball where you have guys going 5-6 innings. FIU hasn't been able to do that. Maybe in a couple occasions with Tiburcio. That's really about it. You need a guy who not only is going to give you quality innings, but quantity. They need a guy who you can count on every Friday or Saturday to come into that rotation and set the tone. Go 5-6 innings of perfect baseball. And that's what they need right now. And they need a lights out guy, They need an Andrew Walters, for example, right now from the Canes. That's what they need on this FIU team. And there's guys, there's obviously going to be someone in the transfer portal that is going to be lights out, and you give them a nice NIL, and maybe you have something cooking at FIU next season. With Conference USA playing out, how Conference USA is playing out, they could be one of the top teams.
Is the video coming yet? You said lights out twice, so I'm already ready for the.
No. It has to come when you least expect.
Lights out! Lights out!
I'm gonna cue that one in.
That was least expecting it. I didn't say
that one felt a little lazy. I'm not gonna lie. Right?
All right, we could do it again later.
Okay, maybe. Let's all say something about FIU baseball. What was the best game of the season? Because obviously it's a bit too early to get sentimental about the season. It's just about coming to a close. But if you had to pinpoint a game this season that was FIU's best and what maybe we can expect from them if they do get into the Conference USA tournament, what was their best performance? For me, I think it's the walk-off winner against FGCU back in mid-April.
Okay. I'll let you go, Johnny. There's a lot of games.
There was one I had that I remember actually calling. It was the Marist College game, March 12th, 13-12 win. FIU was down 9-0. 9-0. And I knew they were coming back. I knew because I think they scored 16 the game before. They came back down 9-0 and they won. I think Ryan had 2 home runs that game. I think it was a Tim McHugh walk-off hit down the line and left. That game right there was just crazy because, I mean, they were hitting at an all-time pace, and that was a fun. I think that was part of their win streak before. That was the final non-conference game.
And that stretch from Harvard to Marist had like some of the best offense I've ever seen a college baseball team produce. They were just
so much
absolutely like they dropped 18 on Harvard. Like that is actually crazy.
It was good. A real quality college baseball game.
So what's your pick, Kevin? I'm assuming we could have a trifecta: the walk-off winner against FGCU, that incredible Marist comeback win, and I think I'm going to predict you're going to say the Mercy Rule game against FAU.
I was thinking
that was a good one.
I was thinking about it, but I don't think I could go that one. I have to go with the first game against Western Kentucky. That was a fun game. Not only did Ryan Guida get to 40 RBIs that game, Johnny almost got water dumped on his head that game. And Angel Tiburcio was so damn good that game. That was a perfect game for FIU. I was on the call with Johnny. It was Tiburcio followed by Kabarkis, who was probably throwing some fast balls out there. I mean, he was throwing hard that day. And then obviously the FIU offense killed it. So I'm going to go with that Western Kentucky game. The FAU game was one I was thinking of. The Charlotte walk-off was another good one, especially with how cool that was. But, I mean, besides that, yeah, I think I'm going to go with the Western Kentucky game. Maybe the boring pick here, but it was such a team game. And I think Johnny that was probably like the best overall game FIU has played. And Coach said it. He said that this is probably the most complete game they've played thus far.
Yeah. I got to give out the one from this past Friday. It was a 13-4 game where FIU had four. They had in the third inning, they went back-to-back home runs. Then had a home run later. Rosario nearly hit a home run to dead center, but he had a triple. And they had put up 9 runs in that inning. That was a great game. But I'm holding my call to that Marist game. That was electric. I mean, Sunday afternoon.
That was lights out.
Lights out! Lights out!
How was that? That was better.
That was significantly better. Yeah, that was significantly better.
This time Johnny didn't wait for it.
Yeah.
So no news break today.
No news break. The only thing I have to say is go to the game tomorrow, okay? Support your Panthers. It's the last home game of the season.
Oh yeah, we could preview a little bit of that
game. Giveaway or something. Who knows? But look, they've been this close to beating Miami like twice now. That last game doesn't count, but they were close to beating the Canes twice now. Okay. They can make it happen. This would absolutely be the biggest win of the season. I know we just shared our biggest wins of the season. This would be it. Okay. Number 11, knocking off number 11 when they're trying to
it would be cool. Omaha. It would be cool, Jake. But
you know the best
win of the year. The best win of the year would be against Rice when they make it to the Conference USA tournament.
That would be cool, but we're not fortune
tellers. That would be the coolest.
We're not fortune tellers. We can't see that far into the future. But in any event, it's the last home game of the season here at FIU. So obviously we're all going to be there. If you want to say hey, go for it. And should be a lot of fun.
Yeah, so we could probably expect Pinheiro to go out there tomorrow, I would assume, Johnny. I'm between him and Santana.
Yeah, I would. That's Santana too. I think I would see Pinheiro again. I mean, I know he pitched last week against the Hurricanes. I don't know if that impacts, pitching, back-to-back games. I mean,
it would be back to back because he pitched against Bethune.
No, I would think back-to-back appearances against the same team.
Yeah, that's the only thing that's a little bit sketchy if they did. I could see them go Santana though.
But I know Coach wants the best opportunities for him. In a spot where it's not so much, but it's a good opportunity. I could see Joel going again. You never know. You never say never.
And he pitched well.
Yeah, he was. I mean, he's last 5 innings he's pitched. No runs.
Yep. So, yeah, you just gotta hope that FIU could really get it going. They really kept the Canes. FIU, I believe it was tied until the 9th. We were expecting extra innings, and well, that happened. They scored, I think, 4 in the end. So, yeah, no news break, as we said. I think we're gonna move on to some football talk. There's a lot of movement going on. We're gonna start pretty far back with mainly more the recent news, with a couple former FIU players moving to different teams. We won't get too much into that. First of all, Lindell Hudson, Shamar Hobby Lee, both of them are gone. Those guys were starting offensive line, and that's a huge loss for FIU. Shamar goes to Houston, and then Lindell Hudson was a little weird. He committed to USF, and not even a week later, a source told me that he's going to go visit the Gators, the University of Florida Gators, and that source told me that he's going in there and he's probably going to commit. And well, he in fact did. He committed to play for the Gators, and that move happened there. And then Demetrius Hill, safety, All-American, I believe, or all freshman is what it was. And he earned another award, very prestigious award for FIU. He leaves and he goes to Illinois. So Johnny, just your overall thoughts on all the movement that's been going on. A new quarterback has entered, Chaden Peary is, I think, the last name. Darian Polk has entered to kind of help out that defense. Another offensive lineman has entered the building. So a lot of move for FIU. Bringing a new quarterback, obviously, to replace what's his name? Armani Jones. Jesus, that always happens. Oh my God. Johnny calls me out for it too every single time. Armani Jones, he gets injured. He's out for the year. It's Achilles, I believe. And you bring in Chaden Peary, who's just probably going to be a nice 4th string, maybe even a possible backup that could help the team out. But Johnny, just your thoughts on all the movement, and still more to be seen, obviously.
Yeah, I mean that's the world's transfer portal now. Obviously with the moves of Lindell Hudson, Demetrius Hill, guys that look, it's tough when you're at FIU and Conference USA, and guys that they feel like they have the opportunity to develop and go to another level. And Demetrius Hill does. He moves up. He had a tremendous year for FIU and feels maybe he's proven himself enough. He goes up to another level as well as Lindell Hudson, and it's best for them going along. And I know they all have aspirations going to the NFL, and we hope that happens for them. They were great for FIU, and hopefully they'll do the same for their respective teams. But it's just tough when you're here. But also with that, it opens spots up. So you said about Ladarian Polk, who comes from Memphis. I don't know exactly. I think he maybe would have been under head coach Mike McIntyre when he was there, but he has experience in the Atlantic American Conference, and then you bring a guy in Chaden Peary, who you said is another option in that quarterback room that does not have Mark Jones because of injury. Yeah. But it's opportunities for new guys to come in, but tough when you sit in G5 and you can't get guys. You can't get guys because guys want to develop and get better, and we've seen that very busy in the off season and now here after spring practice.
And I guarantee the only other move I wanted to quickly mention is that AJ Brathwaite, who had originally committed to play for FIU, he actually flipped his commitment to go play for Arkansas in the SEC. So it just shows the type of player that FIU had under that commitment. And
FIU revenge game against Arkansas later this year.
Dude,
you're right. Yeah, I'll be up there in Arkansas. So
damn, okay, yeah. Kevin.
Just a little
miles under his belt. But I will say
it'll be a lot of miles. It'll be a lot of miles.
The most frustrating shakeup was definitely at the offensive line. And I guarantee you this absolutely frustrates the hell out of our good friend and guest on the show, Grayson James, because he himself mentioned it, and we've mentioned it for a while now. This FIU team has not had a stable offensive line in years upon years upon years. And again, just to see another shakeup like this as we're getting ready for week 0, which is only a few months away now. Like we're getting closer and closer and closer to that first game, and to all of a sudden have these questions about who's going to be the starters for the offensive line this soon now, it's disappointing because that's been probably the biggest what if position group for this FIU team as a whole, not just offense, but this team for years. And I will say I do like some of the new players they've brought in. Ladarian Polk, the corner from how do you say it? Apopka, Florida. He looks really good, right? I like his stats. His overall persona looks pretty cool, right? And I will say, Shaden Peary, I believe that's how you say it. That is a wild card. Throw it onto the table and see what happens. Kind of move there, because I'm sure we all thought we knew what we knew about the quarterback room for FIU. We all thought we knew what we would expect come week 0. But to have a shakeup like this, it's going to be interesting to see now who comes out on top for that starting position for week 0. Because I still think it's very much up in the air.
You really do? It's pretty obvious what it is. It's Grayson. It's going to be Grayson James, I think.
I feel confident. I feel confident.
I'll put it like this, Jake. Put it like
I
this.
can't say it's 100% though. You just can't rule out that someone is going to blow Mike McIntyre's mind before week 0 and make him go like, wow, this quarterback we brought in, he looks lights out today in practice.
Lights out! Lights out!
I wanted to say, I'll throw that in there. I wanted to say, like, there's no quarterback that has shown me anything that Grayson hasn't been able to do. And I think Johnny could attest to this. And this is when I was talking to Eric Henry, who no longer is a FIU beat writer, but when he was there,
shout out Eric.
Shout out Eric. He covered all of spring ball. He was telling me that it's going to be Grayson. He thinks it'll be Grayson. I mean, there's none of the guys below Grayson have shown anything that has really stood out that Grayson can't do right now. And I think Grayson, with a healthy offensive line, healthy wide receiver core, he's going to have a good season. He's probably, one of the better quarterbacks in Conference USA. And you could argue that he may be one of the best quarterbacks in Conference USA right now. And, the only thing that maybe is better about one of the backups, and that's Hayden Carlson. Hayden Carlson really could extend plays with his legs. He could get to that first down on his own. We saw it a lot during spring ball. Armani Jones looked really good during spring. I think he would have had a chance to get some playing time. Then Shaden Peary, who is a JUCO product, went to Georgia Tech, didn't get any action there. That's a true wild card. I hope to talk to him soon. We'll see when that happens. But once I do, we'll kind of find out what we could get from Shaden Peary. I think he'll get some playing time for sure for FIU.
Kevin, I gotta ask you. You have to give us the scoop. Who are the sources? Because you got me all riled up now, being like, "Oh, I have sources," and wow! Don't tell me it's Jonathan Mayer in disguise.
Nope, not telling you.
It's Monathan Jair giving the sources to Kevin.
Source is not telling. I cannot reveal a source. That is an unwritten rule of media journalism.
Okay.
So,
by the way,
anything else we want to add? Like positions you guys think that they should still add on to? I think obviously you kind of have to look at that safety spot that Dimitri So leaves behind. You kind of have to see who you fill it up with. Obviously, there's still a couple, offensive line, a huge position you have to look towards too. So, Jake, just what are you looking at right now?
Like I said earlier, it's coming down to offensive line, because my confidence in the offense at this point really relies on how confident I feel in the starters come day one. But definitely it's if I couldn't pick offensive line, I would say FIU secondary, because it's probably it was probably the most hurt by injuries as well as the transfer portal for FIU. And I think they've done a good job finding solid looking replacements, but obviously looking is not as telling of if the player's good or not as actual work that he puts in. So I'll say the secondary is probably the most interesting position outside from offensive line for FIU at the moment. And then, of course, you can dive into the weapons at hand for Grayson in the quarterback room with the wide receivers and tight ends, because again, a lot of fresh faces there with some veterans of the team just all of a sudden gone. It's going to be interesting to see who steps up and becomes that next guy. Who will be him when it comes to the wide receiver and tight end group?
Yeah, I mean, I'm a Dean Patterson stan, so I'm going with my guy Dean. I think he'll have a big year. Jalen Bracey, tight ends. Josiah Neiman, obviously, I think with his size, you gotta be excited about what he can bring. Obviously, my thing is I'm interested to see about the linebacker core. That one I'm excited to see. With Donovan Manuel back, Elijah Anderson-Taylor, who was one of the best FCS defensive linemen, and he comes here to FIU and is going to bring that, that quality of a player to FIU. So I'm excited to see that. I think linebacker core is also even Sean Peterson Jr. Shout out, Sean P in his 6th year. He's someone that I think he can be a stud, considering that it was his first year playing linebacker after playing 4 years running back, and he had like 4 or 5 sacks or
He's
something.
really
like that.
bulked up. Yeah,
He was he had a high PFF grade at linebacker, so he's already coming to year 2. This guy can really be standing out. So the linebacker core, and I think the running back as well. You gotta forget, obviously unfortunate with no flex, but it opens up more opportunities for young guys. Tamari Lawrence, who is likely to be the starter week 1. He's a big powerful running back. And then down the line, Antonio Patterson, Keyshawn Owens, young guys that you want to see if they can prove their name and see if they can be, part of the future of FIU football. So a lot of names, but it's tough to lose guys via the portal and injury. But at the same time, it opens up opportunities to see if guys that you recruit can come in can kind of showcase their talent, right out of the gates.
Yep.
Yeah.
So with that,
by the way, this is going to be the first time in a while for this FIU football team that I actually feel confident in the coaching staff. Kevin, you weren't around, but those last couple of years for the Butch Davis era at FIU, I really had my concerns going into the season, being like, all right, well, is Butch Davis finally going to return FIU back to the bowl days of the past when he first joined FIU, and we all thought he was going to be the next great FIU coach. But aside from that, I really like the direction McIntyre has taken this team. He's had to go through hell and back to fix this roster from the ground up, and then to see a ton of players get injured or go to the transfer portal and find the next big guys. I think just from a not just from a journalist standpoint, but also just like watching the moves flow in on social media and how they present it to the fans. I like what I'm seeing from Coach McIntyre, and I definitely have to make it to that Fort Lauderdale Paws Up Tour meetup that they're doing.
Yep.
When is that? I know it's at the Funky Buddha, but what day is
it?
It's
Wednesday.
Wednesday.
Yeah.
All right. Are we all going to have a meetup there at the Funky Buddha?
I actually have my orientation on Wednesday, so.
Oh, boo. You don't need an orientation. Come on. Dude. I mean, what?
I got to get my Panther 1 card, man.
The 1 card. That's a big
right.
deal.
I actually forgot about that. Yeah, you get an orientation.
I could finally start getting the giveways at FIU Baseball.
Not to mention the free shirt, the free FIU shirt you get at orientation.
Oh yeah.
Oh no, that was a leak. That was an
shirt.
Inside scoop there. I was supposed to say that. Sorry.
When I did orientation in like my freshman year, it was during COVID, and so they had Shop FIU. They had a Kahoot, and so I knew my FIU history, so I won $30 worth of Starbucks from this Kahoot.
They had a Kahoot for FIU.
Yeah, about FIU. They said what it would be like. What restaurant is not an FIU campus? And they would give out all their
options. Even though
Papa John's was the wrong one, I got it right. I think I was second place. I won $30 worth of Starbucks.
I think Papa John's used to be on campus.
Oh,
I think
really?
It used to be around PG5, like a decade ago.
That would be kind of. Off topic. I would love a nice Papa John's.
I want a Flanagan's on campus.
How
cool would that be? Before the game, you go to Flanagan's.
They do have a Chili's though. They do have a Chili's, which is
I'll say Chili's is a little. I would
Chili's.
rather have a Flanagan's than a Chili's.
Duh, 99.
Who
no,
wouldn't?
yeah. I'll rather
live
have a
in Miami.
Flanagan's over a Chili's.
If you were to do a survey, right, and ask everybody who lives on campus, or not even who just goes to FIU, what would be more appealing to you after a long, hard day in the classroom, or like before a football game, Chili's or Flanagan's? Like, imagine a blue and gold Flanagan's cup. Do you know how hard that would go? How hard that would be, dude? Come on.
You would ruin the brand.
Yeah.
What do you mean?
Well, they have the pink cups I like.
Yeah, they have the pink cups.
Those are nice.
What's
Pink
that for?
cups are
Breast
fire,
cancer?
dude. Yeah.
Is that for breast cancer awareness?
Yeah,
Yes.
it is.
Yep.
Not to be that guy, but I kind of assumed. All right. So, anything else before we wrap it up?
Well, Kevin,
know
do
a
your
little earlier
sources
here.
have any info about those Vice uniforms? I'm still holding out for seeing those. Come on, Kevin.
My source was a UF source, bro. It wasn't a.
Oh, well,
Come on, dude.
okay. Well,
But anyways, anything else?
Shout
Now's
out.
the time to plug everything. Now's your time to plug whatever you want. Talk about whatever you want. Now's your time.
I'll say shout out FIU track and field. They're in the championships. I think they wrapped up the Conference championships, and a lot of them won different awards. I know Philippa Miller, who was a pole vaulter for FIU, I think she broke a new record in conference. Who obviously we know that Billy Gill was a pole vaulter.
shout out Billy.
Shout out Billy Gill and shout out Philippa Miller, who is doing big things with this, FIU track and field that is obviously has a lot of really talented.
Yeah, I believe it
people on
was.
their-
I believe it was. Was it Adrian who did an article on Philippa Miller
Oh,
during?
Paula. Shout out Paula.
Oh yeah, Paula. Shout
Paula.
out Paula
Paula
who interviewed Philippa and did an awesome article on it, a la the style of Johnny's goated Tyrese Chambers article.
Yeah.
But yeah, I will say, and again, Kevin and I have said this in the past, but we have some awesome stuff planned for the future of the Paws podcast as we approach season 2. And well, I'm not rocking the Tua jersey for nothing, right? You talk a little Dolphins. There's been a lot of Dolphins news, right, as of late. And
I also want to talk about Isaiah Wynn.
I mean, look, any help to the offensive line is granted. I don't think he's going to be a starter, but if he can be a nice role player, or not a role player, or a reserve player for the line in case someone goes down. And as much as I love Teron Armstead, but he's known to going down quite a bit. Okay, so I would like to quickly take a glance at the regular season schedule, because there are some fire matchups there. Starting off week 1 at SoFi Stadium. That's starting off on the West Coast for a Miami team. That's kind of rough. But it is the rematch of Tua and Herbert. So that's already a pretty cool storyline there.
Yeah.
And then you go on the road to New England for a Sunday night game. And Johnny, what's so funny?
Nothing. I'm just saying. Honestly, Dolphins are going 17-0. So
Oh, they're going 7. Okay, yeah.
I don't know why
I
we're,
knew that would be the first thing you would say about the Dolphins schedule.
Dolphins winning every game, going to the Super Bowl.
Uh-huh.
Second time we're going to be undefeated.
But this schedule, like, no joke though, it's rough. Like, the opponents Miami plays are like, golly. I think I did the math, and it's like Miami is playing, I believe, 8 or 7 playoff teams from last year are in the schedule, including the NFC champions in Philadelphia and the Super Bowl champions in Kansas City. Okay, so this is going to be no easy road for Miami. I know. Last year the Dolphins got a lot of criticism. Oh, they got on that winning streak, but they played a bunch of the lower ranked teams. That's not going to happen this year, right? I think the worst teams Miami is going to play is like Denver and Carolina. And even those two teams have some potential, right? You have Russ cooking for Denver, and then you have Bryce Young, who could be good with Carolina. Okay, but anyway, some notable games. The Sunday night game in Week 2 against New England. That is, the Patriots will be coming off their home opener in which they celebrated Tom Brady for one last time. So I don't know. Maybe they'll have some momentum, but all of a sudden, a primetime game for week 2 for the Dolphins is kind of crazy. And then moving forward, there is a stretch where Miami plays pretty much just NFC teams. They play the Giants and the Panthers both at home. Then they have to go on the road to take on Philadelphia. That is a crazy matchup. All of a sudden, you have to go to Lincoln Financial and fight the Eagles. That's going to be a dogfight.
We're winning. Don't worry, we're winning. 48-14.
Okay. Johnny, look, you sound as optimistic as you used to do when you worked for Panther Now talking about baseball, okay? All right, just relax, Johnny. Anyway, after a Patriots game, then they take on Kansas City and Germany. And I got to say, the fact that the Tyreek Hill reunion with Kansas City is not at Arrowhead is, like, shocking. Like, the fact that it's going to be in Germany is crazy.
Shall we wrap this up? I'm not in the mood to talk Dolphins schedule, bro.
Why?
Okay, if we're gonna talk, let's talk Heat and Panthers or 2.
Okay, well, fair.
Let's go. We got 2 teams.
Fine. Just give me Heat and 6. Give me Panthers and also 6.
Sorry, Heat and 5, Panthers and 4. There we go. That's better.
Jonathan Mayer. My God.
Boston's not that good. Boston, no, he will win. Heat are good. Heat are good.
All right, Kevin, wrap us up.
Alrighty. So from Jake, from Johnny, myself, we'll be back next week, Tuesday. So this was a weird scheduling just because of the game.
Yeah.
We'll be back Tuesday, every Tuesday moving forward. So we'll see you guys next week. Make sure to say hi if you see us at the ballpark tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
And as always, paws up.
Paws up.